Hello, found footage fans, and welcome to We Found a Tape. We're a podcast dedicated to all things found footage. Shaky cams, paranormal sightings, and everything with an authentic edge to make it all feel real. My name's John,
And I'm David.
and join us as we hit play and uncover what lies beyond the tape. Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of We Found a Tape. And today we're going to be talking about many people's favourite found footage movie. It's been spoke about a lot. I've seen a lot come up about it in our journey through this found footage realm, and it's straight out of South Korea. So today we're going to be talking about Gonjiam, Haunted Asylum.
Just me, or now that we're talking about this, I've got the sudden craving for Asian food.
There's a place by me. It's called Soul, and it is a Korean barbecue place.
Yeah.
And it's really good, really good. So that's kind of my experience of enjoying Korean food. I usually get the boneless wings or whatever, and like rice and stuff, and it's incredible.
Have you actually gone to like? I mean, I don't know if this is the true Korean experience or not, but this is like my experience. For Korean barbecue is where you go to those places that have the skillet on the table and you start cooking your own meats and vegetables and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been to a place like that. This place that I go to isn't like that. There's not a lot of tables. The kitchen's like right just near you. The staff are awesome. It's really great.
Funny story real quick before we jump into this movie. So I went to a hibachi, right? And this guy was starting to like cook egg, and then he was like flicking it about, and he's all, "Oh, I'm making popcorn," just to kind of make the table laugh and whatever. And then he got a piece of egg, and he's all, "Well, who wants to catch it in their mouth?" So I decided to be a good sport, right, and say, "Hey, I'll catch it." Motherfucker threw it right on my chin. Had a big old chunk of egg hanging, and then it was on my shirt, and yeah, fail, super fail. But yeah, that's my story.
Hell yeah.
Let's go ahead and jump into this movie. So we're doing Gonjiam, if I'm saying that correctly.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's Gonjiam.
Gonjiam.
I think either way, we're going to absolutely butcher any sort of Korean-based verbiage today. So, I know. For me, I probably won't be talking character names because my pronunciation is just not going to absolutely butcher it. The only main character that I, of course, remember was Charlotte.
Charlotte Moon.
But yeah, this movie came out in 2018. It was directed by Jung Bum Shik. It's a found footage out of South Korea, based on a real life asylum with a group of horror web series folks who are looking at doing a live broadcast in this asylum.
So, being that it's based on a real asylum, is it also called the Gonjiam Asylum?
Yep. The real place is Gonjiam Asylum, minus the haunted part. Might be haunted, but yeah, it's based on a real place. Apparently, they wanted to film there. They did not have the permission to do so. They had to film elsewhere, but we'll get into that later on in the show when we talk some trivia about the movie.
Yeah, we'll hit them with that synopsis, man.
The crew of a horror web series travels to an abandoned asylum for a live broadcast, where they soon encounter much more than they expected.
Oh
yeah.
See, that sends chills right up your spine right there.
Yeah, it was fun, man. I really enjoyed it. I think for me it was paced really well. The characters were somewhat, I think they were somewhat likable. Like I think with YouTubers and the type of internet type broadcast or show that they do, I think it's par for the course that they're a bit over the top and a bit excitable, and at least in front of the camera. Like on the other side, they're a bit more like controlling and a bit frustrated more easily and angry and things like that. So I think it did a good job of portraying both of those elements as part of the broadcast that they were ultimately doing. So I think I appreciated that.
Well, for me, all the excessive noise and yelling, or the excessive yelling, was annoying as shit. I'm not gonna lie. But I mean, there's a lot of good stuff in this movie. I'm gonna come out and say it. The host of this show, the guy that was sitting in the tent the entire time, biggest asshole ever.
Yeah,
sure,
definitely.
he started out as a nice guy, but when he started not getting his way, and when the numbers started mattering more than their lives, dude turned into a real asshole.
Right, and that's exactly kind of the point that was mentioned just there. Like, really, that's where you see the true nature of them when the numbers start to become the main thing. There's people in there that are clearly either going insane, or they're hurt, or they're getting attacked, and all this other stuff. And he's just more so trying to just get them to above 1 million in terms of their broadcast views, so they can get the ad revenue. So it's very much a common sort of modern day thing for that. It's really the numbers is where it's, and the metrics and things like that is where it's where it ultimately lies, and people's lives are at risk here, because he's the one just outside the tent, right? And eventually he musters enough to go in, and he experiences Gonjiam firsthand.
And I guess that's more so with I mean, most YouTubers, right? Because when you put out content that has a lot of subscribers, I mean, in the end, the numbers really do matter, because that's your income, that's your revenue if you're doing it full time. So the numbers are going to matter. So that can kind of bring the animal out of you. If your number base, this is your income. You are going to be anal about processes and things like that. You're going to be demanding. You're going to be violent about it. You're going to be an asshole about it, basically. So understandable. I mean, that's your income. So.
But yeah, it's really, for me, I thought it was really well done. It was really high production value, most definitely. It's not your typical point and shoot, like Blair Witch style, where they're running around in the woods. Like, there's some elements of that, and there's the found footage tropes that are there, absolutely. But it's definitely a higher budget experience. The high tech equipment that they all have, and the angles that they have, I thought were incredibly unique. That's something you don't normally see too much in found footage films. There's some more specifically that come to mind, things like Jerusalem. At the time, there wasn't broadcasting like glasses that they could use. Nowadays, that's very common. You get Ray-Bans, you get Meta glasses and stuff like that. But back then, it was more of like a pipe dream. Like, this would be great if this existed, or this was the early stages of it, like spy cam almost. But for this, it was very and it came out 2018, so they probably would have filmed this 2017-ish. So they had a lot of like different cameras available to them, and different things that they were using to get the footage. And first person view, but also like the view of the first person, if that makes sense, where they had like a double GoPro set up where they like look at them and then what they are seeing as well. I really dug that. I thought that was really inventive and really cool.
Yeah, it was very cool, and I like the high quality filming. I mean, like you said, it reminded me of higher quality found footage films like Jerusalem, like you said, as above, so below, where
Right.
things aren't as grainy, and they're very high definition. So, yeah, very much more on the high end.
Yeah, definitely more modern, and it's always nice to see that the creativity definitely comes through in that. It's more so, rather than a lack of resources, it's using as much resources as possible and really making the most out of all of them. And I think the quality definitely comes through. I think that's probably going to be the main thing that people appreciate about the film, is just the high quality of it. But not only that, like the scares in this were incredibly well done, and a lot of really creepy atmosphere and things that happened throughout the whole thing. It was intense. It was go, go, go. But as soon as they got to that asylum and to go into it, it was just full on go, go, go.
Yeah, absolutely. It was really kind of just to the point. They started out the movie where they all kind of met together. They hired on these three girls. It's three guys that are running the YouTube channel, and they got the fourth guy that showed up. He's kind of like the nerd or the geek, and he's kind of like reserved and not really too humorous, right? Like he's not, he's kind of like uptight a little bit, and it seems like they do that. Things that we've seen in other movies where they kind of do where it starts out kind of like documentary-ish, where they're recording like with music, where they go out to dinner and they're getting drinks, and then they're doing that whole thing, and there's that part where they're throwing the grapes or the cherries at the wall to bounce off and catch in the mouth, and then they do the uptight guy, and as soon as he turns around, that girl hits him in the face, and you can see him and that girl already have tension because they're picking at each other. So that starts out the movie with two people having tension already in it. If they had survived this whole thing, that probably would have eventually turned into sexual tension.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, but no, this was very well done. I enjoyed the camaraderie on the way up to the asylum, as they're driving through all the sort of country roads, and like they're explaining what's going to happen and sort of what they're doing, and the fact that they're going to try and go into room 402, which is the most haunted room from previous like videos. They sort of show as well some other people who went there that actively went missing, and kind of get a little startled when they find out that there's people missing, like actively missing. There's high police presence when they get there. That's a red flag. The fact that there's high police presence in an abandoned asylum like that's when you know something's not right.
Right. That should have been a red flag right there. But this room 402, if I recall correctly, they were saying that this was the ICU room, so a lot of like bizarre and gruesome deaths happened in this room. Therefore, that's why it's kind of like the most haunted, or in some cases, some of them refer to it as cursed, depending on what they believed in. So there was definitely something up with 402. It was locked for a reason.
Yeah, it was really locked because they try to get in initially, try to open it normal, and then by the end of it all, they were like with an electric saw, try to drill open the lock so that they could break in the door. And even at that, they were still like struggling. And another thing that I wanted to mention, that when I saw it kind of took me off guard, was when they're doing the drone footage. When they arrive to the location and they have all the equipment, everyone is like doubling up on these big, massive like boxes full of all this equipment, and like it cuts to the drone footage above them, and there's just so much. They're all carrying like 2 or 3 bags. There's two or three of them holding these big crates. They're walking like uphill through the forest. Like, it's just insane the amount of stuff they end up bringing. They set up the tent, and then the first thing they do is they just start getting. They have like a stovetop, like a camping stovetop. They just bust out the ramen. Like,
yeah, they love their noodles
everywhere.
Man,
so
it's a big part of their culture.
Yeah, they're just all. It's kind of like one of the sort of tropes of found footage that we've spoke about in the past is, when you turn around and you look at the car one last time before you go on your journey. This was almost like their meal, right? They're getting ready to go into this broadcast, this asylum, and they're all sitting around having their meal. really not knowing that it's going to be their last meal. But
Right.
yeah, they're all sitting around, having their ramen and getting into it and getting stuck in. It looked really good though. It looked spicy though.
Yeah, it did look very spicy. Um, One thing that I did like, or it stuck out to me, was you were talking about how they were carrying all the junk through the forest. I
Mm,
really liked the aerial photo of the drone. They kind of put it like in pursuit mode, kind of like where it's following them, and it was kind of like an overhead shot of the woods, right? And it gave me like the last Blair Witch vibes, where they had the video drone and they
yeah,
sent it up, and it was just kind of like the aerial view, and all you just saw was just wooded area everywhere. And that's kind of what it reminded me of, was like the last Blair Witch project, or the last Blair Witch movie. I think it's called just Blair Witch.
yeah. It's just called Blair Witch. Yeah, no, you're right. That's it. Definitely gives those vibes. It's always cool to see drone footage. It's very much like a more modern thing. That drones have been more common.
Now, I like before that they went in, that the guys, they went in first and started setting up the cameras. They came back out.
Yeah,
They had their dinner, and then they set out, and they're setting out on this path to go to the hospital, right? And first thing they come across, they're kind of like, "What is that? What is that?" A pair of granny panties, just randomly out in the woods. I mean, if you go on a hike in the woods, I wouldn't think in this in the last several years it would be uncommon to find a pair of panties in the woods, right? Because people are out there doing naughty things. They're having naughty time, and oh, I can't find my panties. Well, I don't know what to tell you. So they leave the panties behind, but they ended up using them as a marker on the trail to kind of just guide them back. So panties came in handy.
it did. Yeah, it's super creepy to know that it's like outside of this creepy ass abandoned asylum that people go missing in, and these big granny panties that they're and they look dirty as well. Like they look gross,
Yeah,
and
they did.
they've got them hanging from the tree as a marker. I thought that like maybe one of them would like throw it,
Right.
throw it at the other, like being a fucking dick or something. But no, and he went in like no gloves.
Yeah, yeah. He
Right?
went in no
Picked
gloves.
them
Like
up.
it was like
Like,
like like his handkerchief. He pulled it out of his back pocket, and he was oh yeah, let me just tie this off here. It's a good guide spot, to find back to the camp. Yeah, he used no gloves, no hand sanitizer. I mean, he just went for it.
Yep. No, I also picked up on the fact that they went in early and got the cameras set up. There's another sort of elaborate type of thing that they've done is they also not only had the cameras set up, but they also had these motion detector lights that are like they
Right.
flash whenever there's motion detected. And then another thing is they decide that another element is they're going to do a ritual,
Right.
and one of the rooms that they decide to do the ritual in, they ultimately string up all these like red bands with bells on them. And when you first see it, man, that looks so creepy because they're just everywhere. It's like the full room, like every sort of area is covered. And I guess the main purpose is just so that if any sort of activity happens, that it just pings off the
Rings a
rope
bell.
and then it rings the bell. But
Right.
man, it was creepy to see all those bells up.
Yeah, it really was. The thing that I found interesting is that before they started their journey through the asylum, is Charlotte. Um, she set out a flashlight with some holy water.
The little dish, and they put like a light, and yeah, some of the stuff they did was it was quite interesting. Like the ritual that they were going to do, the holy water, like you said, it was as we come to find out that the some elements of the broadcast that were not quite as accurate as they wanted to perceive. They ultimately the ritual part anyway. They decided to fake it and put out as if they'd experienced this supernatural thing, and really it was just to get the reaction from the girls. Right, it was clearly a plan
Right.
by all the boys to try and get the girls scared, because at the end of the day, especially if they're doing a live broadcast, like that kind of reaction is what would bring people through. I think to see a bunch of like attractive women like
Right.
scared and screaming and going insane over this asylum.
I noticed that right when they got into this asylum, as they started, beginning the exploration, they already right off the bat, dude, they started hearing noises. They started hearing banging noises. They were talking to the camera, and then you can see in the background the door just slammed, and then the girl reacts with the screaming, and they kind of did the replay, but like in slower motion, and the yell kept getting deeper. It's like, "Ah," and then like it just kept getting, because they kept slowing it down and getting the reaction every single time the door slammed. So things like that were kind of amusing to me, that they kept replaying it back.
Yeah, it was fun. It was like a lot. There's a lot of like Asian sort of game shows, like Japanese specifically. Like Takeshi's Castle is one that I used to watch like a lot growing up. They were basically doing like a proper TV show. There was some elements that were a live broadcast, and then they would essentially edit it on the fly to like do these things like the slow-mos, the replays and all that, and then they would move to the next location. They would have different teams. They would like, some would do some while the others headed upstairs and all that sort of stuff. So it was very well thought out in terms of the planning of it. So they definitely put a lot of effort into planning out the journey from a show perspective to make it as entertaining as possible.
Yeah, it really did feel much like a game show,
Right.
like I said, because they were editing on the fly. They would cut to the next, like a scene where it's the other team in the third or fourth floor, and the other one's a floor below them, experiencing something totally different as soon as whatever happens. So yeah, very much like a game show, or like a reality show, but like being edited
Right.
live.
Yeah. No, I really appreciated that. I think it helps with the story, because I think as well, you not only see from their perspective, but you also see from they call him the commander, I think.
Yeah.
'Cause he's in the tent, and he experiences a lot himself. I really think he is the one that experiences the first like true paranormal thing, when all the lights go out and he thinks the broadcast is finished. All the lights are flickering, and even when the stove turns on, like that creeped me out, because I saw it like when I was watching it. He was like staring intently into the screen, like watching everyone and checking the angles and stuff.
You
And
just
then
saw
you
the
just
fire
saw like
rising.
the fire, and I'm like, oh my god, it's gonna fucking burn the thing down. And then he like quickly turning it off, and it was insane. It was insane. And
Yeah, it was
I
good.
truly think he was the one that had the first proper paranormal experience, because I think until that point, there was probably an element where, and this is also the fact that they went in early, right? They went in early to set up the cameras and stuff. They could have set up a couple of gags, right? Like something to make the door close, something to make noises. Like they could have done things like that. That's how I interpreted it. Especially considering the fact that they were faking some of the stuff to get a reaction at the girls, with the bells and stuff. That, I think there was some element of that, and then it starts to get real fast.
Yeah, it started really picking up the pace really quick. Three things I want to mention that they came across, in the beginning, is the dead chicken. So they came
Yep.
across the dead chicken on the floor. They also came across the wig, that they heard a bang in the ceiling, and then there's a wig just hanging in the ceiling. That was creepy, because it looked like a head that was hanging out of the
Yeah.
ceiling hole with the thing, and then they pull it down, and they're trying to scare the uptight guy with the wig and waving in his face, and he's all, "Get it away from me," and they were just taunting him with it. And then at some point they go into this room that has a kind of like a stone tub, and what looks like to be a head that's floating out from the tub. And they touch it, they poke at it, and somebody left it there as a gag. It was like a mannequin head or something like that
Another
with
wig.
long
It was
hair.
another wig.
Oh, it was another wig.
Yeah, it was another wig.
I
That to
thought,
me was so so fucking creepy. Like the vat of water, the dirty, murky, gross fucking asylum water. That's just been sitting there festering, and then there's this like, it looks like it looks like a head floating in it, and then
Right.
they take the wig off, and they like that's when they like tease him with it as well. But
Right.
the ceiling one, it caught me, so I was like, that is fucking terrifying, because a lot of Asian horror films, a lot of it involves hair. I don't know why. Like The Grudge, for example. Like The Grudge always has a lot of hair covering the face, or hair going into people's mouths, or hair coming out of people's mouths, and just sort of like being a vehicle for this horror. I mean, everyone knows what it's like to get hair stuck in their mouth or like
Yeah, it's
anywhere,
not pleasant, man.
right? It's not pleasant. And when you think of it, like thick, black, like clumps of hair, like being pulled from your mouth or going into your mouth, oh, that's
And
disgusting.
then it's wet, and you don't even know where that wet is coming from. You don't
Exactly.
Yeah, you don't know what kind of wet it is. Yeah, it's
Disgusting.
No, it's not pleasant. Yeah, that was super gross, man. That was, yeah, no. As we progress later into the movie, where everyone starts having black eyes, that's very prominent too in Asian movies, as they like to use a lot of black eyes.
Right, for things like possession and demonic
Right.
things. It's quite common as well in things like Supernatural. There's a lot of
Yeah.
like black eyes for like demons. That's probably the connotation that comes through from that happening, is it's some sort of demonic or paranormal entity that's there. Yeah, I noticed that as well.
I also noticed that, as they were progressing through, things are happening. They find a doll, right? And they told him not to pick it up, and he picks it up. And if you paid attention to the beginning of when they first came in, first room they went into had a bunch of like, papers and things like that. And they even found a frame. Dolls like that are old and very basic and things like that. They're very creepy. I don't know. It's because they're made out of like simple fabric, and they just creep you out.
Absolutely, yeah. I think it's never usually like a big smile. It's almost muted. And I think that's where the lack of emotion really makes it scary. The simplicity of it can really, especially if you see it in an area where it's kind of like an asylum, right? It's creepy as shit. And for that, so they find it in her room, and I don't know that it's staff. I think it's a patient. It's like an old patient who had the doll, because they all look like the director was just sitting in the middle.
Oh, okay. I thought they were actual like staff. I didn't notice that they were patients. The thing with me in this movie is that there was a lot of reading, right? Because of course it's in a different language, so you have to read the subtitles. So it's me more focusing on what they're saying, and I miss things along the way. So that's one of the things that I missed. I didn't know it was patients instead of staff.
Yeah, I know, especially when there's something that's in a foreign language and you're having to rely on the subtitles for the context. I agree. It's definitely something it takes a bit of getting used to. I feel like nowadays everything I have has subtitles or closed captions or whatever. I always just have captions on, because I feel like I can hear better when I see the words.
And I have captions on too, especially if I'm watching a movie with somebody that never shuts up. They like to talk a lot during the movie.
Yeah.
They tend to talk in your ear. They're sitting next to you, and it's good to have those subtitles on, because at least you can read what you didn't hear, because it takes a second for those subtitles to go away. So it comes in handy. I mean, it really does come in handy in certain situations.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, but when you do have to rely on them for this main source of information, especially if you don't understand the language that's been spoken, it can be a bit off-putting for some. I can totally appreciate that. But I think once you get past it, I think for the most part, for me, it's really just the details of what they're portraying for the lore behind the asylum is the main thing for me that comes across in the description or the subtitles that they're using. A lot of it's very visual, in terms of the jump scares and things like that, and for me that grabs my attention. I think that they do it quite well, where there's not a lot of, when they're speaking, there's not as much action, especially as we go through towards the climax of the movie is absolutely where it just ramps up to fucking 12 and just gets insane.
Yeah, it does. What was a real creepy thing was were those boxes that they came across with the windows, were those coffins?
Do you know, I don't know that they were coffins. I think they were like, like Matilda, where they would have like the chokey.
Oh, the it's like a timeout box.
I think that's what they were. What they were, because they, as they're exploring through the asylum, they sort of come across some strange things. So I think there was a lot of torture that happened throughout the asylum and throughout the time that the director was there and running the asylum, and a lot of experimentation as well. But I think my understanding was it was like a chokey box for putting in badly behaved inmates, I guess. And again, it goes to another point of the boys were trying to get a scare out of the girls, stick their hand in, and then he's like, "Oh no, just pull my arm," and she's like, "Nah, I'm gonna do it." Which, I mean, kudos to her. Even if it was like fake or whatever, still kudos to her for doing it. And then she finds out the hard way that something is actually happening.
But I liked it because she was just reaching in there, and it's like if somebody was really on the other side and grabbed her arm and just yanked her right into the box, and it was like a quick reaction, like if somebody pulls you out of the way of a car's coming at you, it's kind of like a grab and pull. That was creepy because you're just there like, no, nothing, and then boom,
Yeah, and the inclusion of the fact that they have this like unit around their neck that has the camera right in their face, it gets those unique moments. The fact that she goes in with like her sleeves up or like a bare arm, to me, like, because the fact that even if you didn't get attacked by an entity in there, what if there was like a rusty nail or like some piece of wood that's like stuck? You're gonna get tetanus.
And it kind of goes back to the whole paranormal thing. Chances were that they stuck a very bad patient in there that died in that box, and their spirit just lives in that box. So anybody who attempts to get near it, or in this case stuck their hand in it, violently gets grabbed because it was a violent, mentally unstable patient.
Yeah, exactly. And then Charlotte has her own experience where her scarf gets flicked up, and that's when they really start to go crazy and get chaotic and stuff.
So at this point in the movie, they're scared, right? They don't want to do this anymore. Nobody wants to do it anymore. So they're talking back and forth with the guy at the tent, the commander, and he's wanting them to continue. They don't want to. He says, I understand if you don't want to continue, but we got 1 million viewers writing on this, so it's very important that you do. Like, he's being very forceful about it, and there's no discussion for a moment or two, and then all of a sudden, the two guys that are back and forth about this tell him, if you want us to keep doing it, bump our cut of the pay by 20% for all of us. And there's that pause, where he's thinking about it, getting desperate in his head to keep this going. And he's like, you know what, fine, everybody gets a 20% increase aside from, what I'm paying you. You get a 20% bump. So then they decide they want to continue doing it. So that right there told me that this dude is a real asshole, because I mean, he's just this dude ain't even out there doing the work. He's just sitting in the tent, just collecting a payday. All he's doing is just running some video equipment. He ain't out there sweating and getting his hand grabbed and anything like that. He doesn't know what fear is yet. He's just passively finding all these lights that turn off, the stream that cut off for a moment or two. Like, he's just taking it as electrical issues. Like, he's not, he's not believing yet is what's going on here.
Right. Yeah. No, totally. They switch to things like night vision, and they start to see things, to see ghosts and paranormal entities. And when Charlotte and one of the other girls, they run out of the place, they're like, nah, we're done. They try and run out. They're running through the forest. that's when they see the marker, the underwear marker, and they ultimately they get turned around. I don't know how. I don't know if it's like it's almost like an illusion that happens with these sort of paranormal type films where their minds are manipulated and they either believe they're somewhere else or not, but they're going around in circles, and that's where we start to see like them physically interact with these people now. If you look up Gonjiam Haunted Asylum, it's the first thing that's going to pop right up. It's when she turns into like the fucking entity or whatever, like she's possessed, and her hair's all like greasy or whatever, and her eyes are black, and she's just like muttering like incoherently into the camera, and that to me is nightmare fuel, and she's just going insane. And
it really is, because she's just like whispering nonsense, but super, super fast, right? She's like,
yeah,
and she's just going like
crazy.
super, super fast. Like I was like, I can't even mutter gibberish that fast, much less like actual words off the top of my head. And for her to do that was like, I want to know like if that girl actually did that part, or it was voiced over. She was just moving her lips. But if she actually did it, kudos to her for pulling that off, because it was well done.
Yeah, I mean, and as well, I mean, there are some certain tricks that you can do. You can say things really slow, and then it can just be sped up. That's also another alternative. There are definitely camera tricks. Anytime you look this movie up, that's always going to be a thing, and it's just so intense. To which point the commander then takes it upon himself to strap in one of these headset bad boys, the cameras, and just sprints right in there.
Now, while he's making his way there, there's still chaos happening. I thought when Charlotte was in this room, that creepy guy that was all kind of like, I don't know, kind of like a very Silent Hillish, like the nurses, right?
Yeah.
And he had, was it a he or a she? I feel like it was a man, right? It was really hard to tell because it was in the shadow.
Right. To me, it looked like they'd been like cut up, like
right,
all over. It looked like they'd been chopped up, if you know what I mean. So it could have been either, I think it might have been a male who's had the shit removed and then sewn back up. That's kind of the vibe I got from it. Which, I mean, that would make me a vengeful spirit if that happened to me.
Yeah, it would me too. It would be for me too. But I thought it was kind of creepy that the sounds is what got me on this scene, where she moved behind the pillar, and you can hear the feet dragging where they're moving sideways, shuffling their feet, and it's that drag that because it's like dry feet and dry floor, and it's it's concrete, and it's just a nasty sound, man, and it's creepy because you already know this thing is in there with you, and then it's moving with you. And then you just see it like slide out from behind the pillar, like it's James Brown, just like, here I am.
Yeah, it was intense, man. A lot of this stuff is just so crazy. And another part that I thought was pretty cool was the fact that they show like all the patients inside the room to see what's actually in there, and they see like the weird like pool on the ceiling, which was like very strange.
Yeah.
Such a strange place. Who knows what the hell was going on in there, but the fact that all of this was happening was just so crazy. But seeing them all in there in like night vision's always creepy as well, just because of like the way that it reacts with the like your eyes and stuff like that is where I find that to be very impactful.
Yeah, that pool creeped me out. There was even one point where he pushed his finger through the pool, and he got the little ripple when you stick your finger in water, that little reaction ripple. So that was creepy too. But it was almost like when they were walking through the room, they felt like they were walking on water, but there was no water on the ground. It was right above their head. So that was a creepy thing. And then all those people that were standing up against the wall, they were all patients in gowns, right? Like they weren't looking, they were facing the wall. That was creepy too, because it's anybody facing the wall in night vision is going to scare the shit out of you, because you can't see their face and what their intentions are.
And then there's definitely when it gets to the end sequence, like some of the stunts, let's put it that way, some of the things that they're doing, like he just gets
Right.
dragged like on the ground through all the flashing lights and stuff. Like that was insane. I thought it was really well done. All sort of practical in the way that they all played out. The other part was when the commander is in the room and he has the camera sort of facing towards him, and it's also in night vision, and you see the body like float over to him, like with its back to him, and it just like brushes against him, and then the hair as well. The hair's like on his shoulder, and it's the two viewpoints of first when you see him face on, and he's just kind of like terrified to look around and figure out what's there. Also below when you see the feet, and they're off the ground, and then they're like bumping against his leg, and it's like this horrifying creature thing that when you finally see the reveal of what it looks like, and it's like screaming that kind of guttural like that creeped me the fuck out. Turns around, and then it cuts to like him like being lifted in the air and like being hung basically,
Right.
and it was so fucking terrifying.
I think one of the biggest, creepiest things of this movie for me were just all the wet things. I'm one of those people that if I touch something that's wet, I freak the fuck out because I don't know where that wet came from. Especially like if you were barefoot and walking through a house and step on something wet, the first thing that would come to my mind as a pet owner, somebody's got a dog or a cat in the house that peed on the floor and I just stepped in that pee, right? And right away I'm just like this ick just comes to me, right? But I mean generally, like if you go to a restroom and you touch like the sides of the sink and it's wet, freaks me the fuck out because like I don't know who was in here before me, what they were using that water for. They could have been washing their ass crack, and that's the leftover from washing your ass crack in the sink. And now I'm just touching their ass water basically.
The water part definitely gives me like an ick as well. It's just gross, stagnant,
Right.
filthy water. It's
Right.
just disgusting.
It tells you that this place is abandoned and dirty, that all that water is not clean. So I mean it's just right away.
It's old, it's dusty, there's probably amoebas, there's bacteria, there's dead bodies, there's hair, piss probably. Just any sort of bodily fluid is just like in your head, is just in that murky green brown water, and I don't like it.
I don't like it either, man.
And another really cool scene for me was when he's strapped in the wheelchair, like right at the last sort of scene. I think it's the camera guy. You see like all the patients in the rooms, and all you see eyes. Them poking through the little peepholes. Oh man, that was a really cool scene because it's like going really fast, and you see them all there, and they're just all like monstrous.
Yeah, that was a creepy part. I didn't expect all the eyes and stuff of the patients in all the rooms. That was a nice little touch.
It felt like a ride at like Disney or Universal or something like that, where you're like going at high speed and you're like, there's just so much happening on the sides. So you're just, what the hell is going on? And it's just so terrifying. And then you see the live broadcast, like it's depleted. It's no longer at 1 million views. It's at like 900. And the comments are coming in being like, nah, it's fake. It's fake. It's fake. Because they ultimately broadcast the fact that they faked a certain part. But for me, this one, I'm amazed I hadn't seen it sooner. Honestly,
I watched it twice, right? The day before and then today before we recorded this. First time I was completely annoyed with it because of the excessive screaming and the subtitles, having to focus on two things at once when my mind wasn't prepared to do that. So the first time around, it was just more annoying than anything. Second time around, I was able to more focus on all the creepy parts and enjoy it a bit more. So it was a fun ride, man. There was a lot of creepy elements once you stop and get past the subtitles, like you said. It's quite a ride.
But we brushed on this earlier on, but some facts about the movie really is that they originally wanted to film in the real Gonjiam Asylum, but it was condemned basically, and ultimately they found a high school in Busan in South Korea as the primary filming location. Here is one that I found out while I was watching the film. Apparently, just before the movie came out, for the theatrical release, the owners of the asylum tried to sue to stop it coming out because they thought it would have negative effects on the sale of the building. Yeah, in Korea. And just before the film came out, the court ruled in favor of the movie, so it was able to come out. So the people that owned Gonjiam tried to get it pulled from theaters because they thought it was going to give it a bad rep. Ultimately, a couple of months after the film came out anyway, the asylum was demolished. So it no longer exists, but it got demolished. So yeah.
They wouldn't have sold that place anyways without the movie. Like, whether the movie existed or not, they weren't going to sell that damn place.
Exactly. Another fact that I think was quite interesting, the fact that the inspiration for the film came from a 2012 article in CNN Travel that selected Gonjiam as one of the 7 freakiest places on the planet. I don't know if you noticed at the start of the film when they're going into details about it actually shows 7 freakiest places, so it actually directly references that CNN article, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, I saw the article in the beginning. They were kind of going over like history and stuff like that. So yeah, I did notice that.
I think it's always fun to check those out. But yeah,
it
was,
well, I think we've hit that time where it's time to rate this sucker. You want to do the honors?
Hell yeah. I don't know how many times I've been told to watch this. Similar to The Sacrament, it's been a lot. I've seen a lot of people talking about it, and I don't think I really realised how good it actually was. Now that I've seen it, it's probably up there as one of the best, genuinely. I'm amazed that I hadn't seen it sooner. I personally, I'm not going to give it a golden tape, but I think I'm going to give it 5. The realism behind it, functionality of a live stream or a live broadcast for horror specific things or paranormal things, I think is a really cool touch. And yeah, just a high budget, really great found footage film. So yeah, five tapes for me.
Right on. So I'm going to go a bit of a different direction here. I'm going to stand up for the people that are annoyed by subtitles here. So this movie was great across the board as far as, what they showed, the effects, high quality, how they did the production of the show, where they edited, on the fly, things like that. It was great. Jump scares were great. Everything was great. All the visuals, the hair creeped me out, all the wet things, all the things that I would want to see in a horror movie were great, right? I can't get past the subtitles. I'm sorry. Like, I loved watching this movie, but I don't foresee myself putting it at the top of my list, watching it anytime soon. I hate to read, man. I hate to read. This one, and then all the excessive screaming and yelling, this was ridiculous. Those two things, I'm sorry, I just can't get past them. So as great and entertaining as the movie was, I don't plan on watching it again anytime soon, just for those 2 reasons. But still, giving it what it is, how entertaining it is. If you're one of those people that are going to get past the subtitles, great. But if you're like me, you watch it one time and then, we're done with it. But still, it deserves, a good score. So I'm going to give it 4 tapes.
Okay. I think in terms of the screaming element, like, if I put myself in that situation, 100% I'm screaming, right? If I'm stuck in there, I'm screaming my fucking head off if shit like that's going down. I'm trying to get out, of course, in some like scare houses and things like that, and an involuntary scream like that comes out, and
You screamed in a horror house before?
Oh yeah, just it's almost it's involuntary sometimes. Like when you really get caught off guard, the fear sort of comes in. It kind of not so much high pitched like a girl scream, but kind of like a ah, like an
Yeah.
involuntary, like you're so frightened in that moment, or the timing of the jump. Like if you go in a little early, you see the thing and you're not as you don't get as scared. If you go in a little late, then you've missed it. But if you go in at that perfect moment and the scare is really timed, I think that's where you get that natural scream that just comes from nowhere. Just the fear in that moment in time, just kind of like in the flailing hands, like that for me is another one. I've definitely done that before.
And I think that's what it was. It was too much like high pitched feminine screaming. Like even the guys were screaming like girls. Like if they had done manly screams, I would have respected it a bit.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
But I mean, those are my only two gripes with it. Everything else was great, man.
Awesome. Well,
but yeah,
thank you.
that was Gonjiam.
Yeah, that was Gonjiam. Let us know your thoughts. Definitely reach out and tell us what you thought of Gonjiam Haunted Asylum. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe anywhere you listen to podcasts, whether that is Spotify, Apple, Amazon. We're also on YouTube, and be sure to check us out on Instagram. All at We Found a Tape.
Thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in. Catch us on the next one. And don't forget, be kind and rewind.